So the next activity after the spindle box is the cards and counters. A box of numeral cards 1 to 10. Now the numeral cards are not fixed, they are loose. And 55 counters. So you see the concept here. Now they're working with the quantities and the symbols. So we have the loose quantities, we have the loose symbols. In the third activity, it was loose symbols, fixed quantity. In the fourth activity, it was loose quantity, fixed symbols. Now in this fifth activity, we have loose quantities and loose symbols. Math is fun with Montessori. So with these 55 counters and the numerals, definitely the child will need to walk on the floor. Some children will want to use the table. The table will need to be pretty wide because they're working with large numbers of counters. What are the aims for this particular activity? Number one is to consolidate the child's knowledge gained in the previous activities. Remember I said to you, if you present these activities in the sequence that it is presented, as it is in this particular course, you are actually scaffolding the child's learning. By this time, the child already should be able to identify numbers, recognize, sequence appropriately, and work with them. So it's more like scaffolding and consolidating what they've learned previously. It gives the child the practice of counting and associating correct number of objects with the relevant numerals. So now this is where the practice of counting comes. Remember how we used to teach math then, when you want to teach the children the concept of addition, and we get them to use counters. We get them. It is so sad that you find that a lot of us start to teach them this concept using abstract, and we tell them to draw balls when they've not actually manipulated these things and know how it feels with the connection of the brain. So with this particular activity, there is that practice of counting and associating the correct numbers of loose objects with the relevant numerals. It also gives the child, enables the child to be able to sequence the numbers in the right order. As the child will pick a particular number, place it there, arrange the numbers in the sequence 1 to 10. They now pick the counters and begin to count appropriately, correctly, under each of the numbers. It is consolidating the sequencing, the order in which the number is arranged. And finally, it is the beginning, it is the foundation for teaching the child the concept of odd and even number. Oftentimes, it may not be presented in the initial presentation because there's a way the counters will be arranged under each number. And as you do that, at every point in time, one counter will be left alone. And by the time it is done all the way to 10, you'll find that the numbers that do not have partners, those numbers where you have one counter remaining, they're all odd numbers because they don't have complete partners, and the ones that do not have anyone left are even numbers. So this is like the foundation of presenting odd and even number to the children. All right, if you're ready, let's get into the classroom and see how you present the cards and counters to the young child. The fifth material the child is working with, so the child is already used to the numbers. So you could just get the child to open up the box and then bring out the cards from the box. You can tell them to just place it on the left hand side, or it depends on the child's dominant side, and place the numbers randomly on the table. So not in any order. So like I said, we will be working with numbers 1, 2, 5. Right, so we can have that there. And then of course we have the counters that the child will still be counting. So you keep that aside in one area. I hope you can see that on your screen. Let me just keep this here. Right. So now what you start to do is you ask the child, can you remember the first number? What's the first number? If the child is already used to all the learnings that's been happening in the first 4 sets of activity, then of course the child will say 1. And so you get the child. Let's move this to the side to random. So the child says 1. Okay, can you pick 1 and place it there? And then you ask the child. So ask the child, so how many counters do you think I need to place under this one? Most of them would be able to tell you 1, right? And then you go ahead and place 1 there. So you ask the child again, what number comes after 1? Most of them should be able to tell you 2. So you tell the child, could you pick the number 2? And the child places the number 2 there for you, okay? And you ask, how many counters do you think we need to count to place under the number 2? Then you can tell the child, let's count together. 1, 2, right? So that is 2. Now, what number comes after 3? At this point, because the child already can sequence the numbers, you can get the child to carry on with the activity. So the number 3. Now let's count. 1. Now, this is what the child will, by default, this is what the child will do. So what you could do at this point, try and get the child. Either you wait till the end of the counting, or you can tell the child when you have 2 paired together, you can have the third one. The one without partner can be under, all right? What number comes after 3? 4. Can you count 4? So what number comes after 4? Child would say 5. So let's count 5 counters. 1, 2. Get the child. Remember to tell the child, put the counters together in group. Make sure they have partners. 3, 4. And this is how you carry on the activity. Right? So with this in front of the child, you can now ask the child, can you notice anything different with this cards and counters? Now you have quite a number of the children will tell you, oh, there are some that do not have partners. They are standing alone. They don't have friends. And so you ask the child to point to you or show you the numbers that have counters without friends. And of course, they could pick 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. Now, based on the learning progress of the child you're working with, you can decide at this particular time to introduce odd and even number to the child. But if you notice that the child is yet to still grasp what you're presenting presently, please do not proceed to go on with the odd and even numbers. So you tell them the numbers that have counters standing alone, that have 1 counter standing alone, all those numbers are known as odd numbers. But the ones that have friends, there's no single one standing alone. They are known as, they're called the even number.